Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Just in time for Black History Month, Camilla Ross of Emerson Theater Collaborative in Sedona, Arizona. Upcoming live theater, B. Luther Hatchie, opens February 5th and runs through February 14th. Shalita Burns, the African-American editor, publishes B. Luther Hatchie, the autobiography of a reclusive 72-year-old Black woman named Libby Price. Shalita has never met Libby, and when the book wins a prestigious award, she decides to deliver it to her in person. To her profound shock, the actual author of the book is a white man named Sean Leonard. Produced and directed by Camilla Ross with assistant director Denise Royal, B. Luther Hatchie is produced with special arrangement by PlayScripts. Don't miss this thought-provoking, introspective look at social issues and challenges people of color experience in our country still today. Tickets available on emersontheatercollaborative.org. COVID masks and social distancing limit each show to 35 only. The show is funded in part by AZ Humanities. Welcome to today's show, Phoenix Business Radio. I'm Karen Nowicki, your host and owner of the studio, and I'm very excited to meet with two new professionals for the first time. I have Ryan Hobbs, VR producer with Glitterhorne VR, and Austin Denworth, founder, CEO of Work of Art Digital, in the studio with me today. Welcome, gentlemen. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Karen, for having us on the show.
My pleasure. So, Ryan, you and I got to be in an Advantage networking meeting. I don't know what Sean calls those meetings, but his Friday
sing-along?
There we go. I think that's what it's called, right? Actually, I forgot to tell you, we're launching. We're going to start. I know he's moving those gatherings to once a month, and we're going to start broadcasting them live here at the studio.
Oh, that's going to be awesome.
We're so excited. I believe that he and Mark are going to co-host it together, and I'll just be producing. It's going to be epic. I'm excited. So you and I got to meet, I think, just last month and did a follow-up call, and here we are. So thanks for accepting my invitation to come and tell your story and bring your buddy Austin along. So let's kick it off with both of you telling us about who you are and how you serve your clients. So what is the business and the service that you offer? Do you mind getting started for us, Austin?
Sure. Yeah, so our agency is called Work of Art Digital Marketing. So we specialize in everything digital marketing. We're a full service agency. So we do everything from paid advertising, PPC, which is Google ads, Facebook ads, social media, SEO, web design, pretty much everything you could think of that you need to build an online brand and presence. And that's how we serve our clients with the utmost trends and expertise from our team that are up to date on everything that's happening today, because the market changes so fast and you always have to be at the forefront or else you'll just get left behind. So we always make sure our clients are aware of everything that we're doing and being very transparent. And I think that's what really has built a lot of success with us, is just having that relationship.
And it's, if you weren't going to say it, I was going to. It's an ever-changing landscape. So the business owner like me, who knows I have to be out there and present, I can't keep up with it. It's all Greek to me. So thank God there's organizations and agencies like you who make that, your business, to keep us in business. How did you land there? What's your story?
Yeah, so I've actually been in marketing for pretty much majority of my life. Even when I went to college, I majored in marketing, minored in IT. Even from there, my first job I received was in marketing as well. Worked for various companies such as Google. Really learned a lot of my trade and expertise there. Usually I passed that on as a trainer there for a while, where I trained hundreds of different specialists on how to do this job, and also a number of agencies as well. So who are now my competitors. I used to be their best friend. Maybe not so much anymore.
That's good. It keeps it fresh and keeps you on your top edge, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I still have really good relationships with a lot of other big top agencies here around Phoenix and San Diego, where I'm originally from. Working for them was great. Learned a lot of great, basically, how the industry works. And eventually realized that, we could easily start our own agency and do this job a lot better, because there's a lot of bureaucracy that usually holds you down. And I think starting out with a smaller agency, you can really build your team, kind of cherry pick everybody who just matches so well in our company culture. So I just know we have the best team out there and that we're able to drive results that most people can't and that we're able to prove it as well. And we'll probably touch on that a little bit later
For sure.
as far as tracking goes and being able to actually prove an
So
ROI.
important. Yeah. Did you know when you were in school how important marketing and IT were going to be in alignment for you career-wise and really for all of us who rely on an agency like yourself? Did you know back then? Could you see that coming?
The market was always changing, going online. Now more than ever, especially with 2020 and how everything happened with the pandemic. More companies, like we were actually able to grow during this time because a ridiculous amount of people needed to make the transition from brick and mortar to online or didn't have an online presence at all. There's still, I think Google did a survey about this, 50% of businesses still don't even have a website.
It's that big of a percentage.
Yeah, and about 10% of them actually have a good website.
Right. And now does your agency design websites as well? When we say full agency, can you tell us what all that entails?
Yeah, so everything from your online salesperson, which is your website, the experience starts there. It really needs whatever product or service that you're selling, it needs to be very fast, a very user-friendly website, easy for them to get the information they're looking for immediately. So and a way for them to convert, to get in contact with you, to purchase, especially if it's like e-commerce. It really starts there as well, and then as well as the advertising, the marketing, messaging that we use with paid ads or organic through SEO. Eventually, they all end up on the website, and that's where you need to be able to close them there. So it's very important that we have a full 360-degree approach to marketing. So, there's a lot of agencies or companies that specialize in just one thing. I'm an SEO agency. We're a web design company. That's great. I mean, they're great at what they do and they're experts in their field. But you really want an expert in every field, in a sense, and one company that could do all of it, because you don't want to have to go out and hire one person for each of those jobs or a different company for each of those jobs and trying to coordinate between all of them so that they're all on the same page for your marketing strategy. So you want someone who can do it all, basically from start to finish, make sure your marketing is all in alignment, makes sense, hitting your right target market at the right time, and everything just works with synergy, perfect synergy.
And, the comparison I was thinking about as you shared that is, say you go to your primary physician and you find out you have something that needs to be taken care of, a surgery or some sort of long-term illness that you have to handle. In the medical world, and it doesn't always happen, we'd hope that all those specialists are talking together on our behalf, right? Oftentimes, we have to be the one to navigate and make sure that we bring the report to this surgeon and that specialist and that sort of thing. And many times, my husband was ill several months ago for quite some time, and I had to be that point, right? So weird example. Given what you just shared, but I think it's appropriate. Like, how exhausting is that for business owners and corporations? If you think you're saving money, or you think that this group can do better with this or that, why not go with a full agency so that I can tell my story and you help me elevate it in everything that you're doing on behalf of the digital marketing, and your team becomes an extension of me, right? That's what we're talking about. Did I butcher that, or is that accurate?
No, it's a very interesting way that you describe it, especially with the example you use, and it does paint a good picture of the misconception between full service agencies. A lot of people think like, oh, well, maybe they're only good at a couple of things, but they give you the whole package, but they're not going to be experts in each field. I think that's really what separates us from other companies, is because we do have experts in each one of those fields on our team. That way, we know we have the full package and can produce the same results for the price of basically one employee. So it's like investing in one full-time employee with our agency versus having to hire 10 different employees or 10 different companies to do all the marketing outlets that you need to do. Because you can't just do one. It's good to start off with one if you have absolutely no marketing behind your company. Like SEO, if you have no presence online, nobody's able to find you there, it's a great place to start. But you want to be able to build on it and everything to work together. Not everything's going to work that well, but you need somebody like an agency like us to be able to tell you what's working, what's not working, and to be completely honest with you. So that way you're not just throwing money against the wall and letting it run too many times. Complaints that we receive before we get hired on is other customers who are getting burned by these other agencies, just kind of a turn and burn model, and don't really believe it works as well until they come to us and then we're able to actually prove those results.
And after a lot of money spent and a lot of frustration, why not just start with you guys to begin with? Good. Well,
Yeah.
we'll talk more about that. Yeah, jump in there,
Well,
Ryan.
there's one thing I want to say about the work of our digital marketing that I think is really important, and that's just it's what I like to call ad fluidity, in that it creates this consistent presence across all these different platforms. So when you go, let's say, oh, I'm going to, in the old days, you're going to send your idea for a logo to an artist, and then that artist is going to render that logo, and then you're going to send that logo separately off to an artist that's going to paint the billboard, et cetera, or then you've got to rent stuff to the billboard and agency. And in this case, with what I noticed immediately with Austin here is, and I just, Austin, you're awesome with connecting all the different social media platforms, all the different directions that someone might accidentally find the logo or find the presence of the business online through Google ad searches, through connecting with reviews, even just mentions. Like somebody says, "Oh, I just on a YouTube video," somebody says, "Oh, I happen to pick this up on Amazon," and that connection to your website, to your ad. The nice thing about that as a business owner is that now I just send my material one time to work of our digital marketing, and suddenly everything connects. And it's not like, you just find my name and there's no logo next to it. Every single time you're going to find your logo and all your information, and it's going to connect, and it's going to be superfluous throughout the entire web, which now encompasses the entire planet, in the palm of your hand. I mean, I think it's great. And I think there are not more agencies like that, because they just frankly aren't as young and as fresh as Austin at work of art.
And the word that comes to mind just based on your introduction is savvy too, that expertise behind each aspects of what's needed to be out there in digital marketing, and the tech savviness behind it as well. Great introduction. Thank you. We'll swing back to you again. Hi, Ryan. Well, I would love to hear too. Who are you? How did you land here? Tell us about your company and the folks that you serve.
My name's Ryan Hobbs, and I'm the producer for Glitterhorne VR. So I produce virtual experiences. And although we can produce things in augmented reality, our primary portfolio so far has been in virtual reality.
Can you pause for a second and explain the difference between VR and AR for us?
Yeah, that's great. So with virtual reality, you have the headset, and you sit in a chair, and you're pretty much disconnected from reality for a moment. There is no, if you have your headset on, you hear everything inside the headset as if you're there, but that takes you away from the reality you're actually in. So that could be effective, in airports, or in a stressful situation, or just any place that you just need to escape, or if you need to be on site someplace else entirely. So I always think about construction managers needing to work in an office, and then suddenly they need to see things on site, and you suddenly transport it to the site, and your office and everything around you immediately dissolves, all the sights and sounds. And I got to say, with 2 of the 5 senses fooled, the other ones kick in. So it's fully immersive. That's virtual reality. Virtual reality also has, by the way, just on a side note, it kind of has 2 angles to it. One is what I call cartoon reality, where it's recognized, it's what everybody's used to with seeing the video game idea. It's like, okay, it's kind of a version of, it's a representation of things, and it might fit what you need at the time. Say a Zoom call, you see everybody as cute Lego characters instead of actual people, and then you have the live action. And I love to work with live action because it's quick and it's effective, because it is a true representation of what is actually there. And our cameras and the optics that we have available today allow us to stream that super high definition of real environments to any headset anywhere in the world. So those are the two sides of virtual reality. And then you have augmented reality, of course, where you would look through a headset or perhaps your phone, like in Pokemon Go, and you look at your office and you have a cute little character now jumping on your desk that you see through your phone, but you have to hold your phone up to do it. And ultimately, with new advances in technology, such as the Magic Leap and the HoloLens that were much anticipated for the market to come, people will be able to connect with the world just by wearing a very comfortable set of glasses. And then as they wander through and see things, they can, I don't know, you could do things that would be fun, like add theme music every time your favorite person walks in the room. You could
Wow.
add a dancing character on top of billboards that you want to sell advertisements to. So everyone driving by, now the billboard actually jumps off of the blade, as it were. So augmented reality is still up and coming in its effectiveness. It's they I read today in Forbes that it was going to be a $22 billion market by 2024, because these technologies are coming. And as it is, I mean, everyone's more and more used to connecting through their phone to see the world. So
We had a show, I think it was last week or the week before, Steve Zelstra and I with AZ Tech Council co-host AZ TechCast, and we were talking about augmented reality, and one of the guests, and I can't remember which one of them said it, but she had just attended a meeting. Most of us are used to Zoom or what's the Google thing?
meets.
Meets, yeah, Google Meets. So we're all kind of, and even Microsoft, whatever that is. So we're used to those. And she said she was on the coolest video conference where were walking into the room, on the screen, and it wasn't this cartoon version of you, it was you. And she said, this is like you're saying, it's up and coming. And that's the first that I heard of it. So to hear you articulate that as well, and to go back to what Austin was saying, with COVID, we've been shoved and forced into what our tech friends have been saying all along. Folks, it's time, go ahead and stay home. Make your work life easier. And here are all the opportunities we have before us through professionals like the two of you to help us get the job done and put the word out about the great work that we're doing. Yeah, fascinating. So as a business owner, how are you using VR? Like, how do you serve your clients then? What's the greatest benefit for them? I guess that's a two-part question, but
Well, it depends on what they're, of course, depends on what they're selling. So I worked with All One House in Central Phoenix, the All One House Gallery, and I'm first of all, our our ideals are completely in alignment. So they're a great client to work for. What they do is they, of course, look for alternative forms of expression through art, and reaching that audience far and wide is a big mission for them. When COVID came about, I had already been working with trying to present their exhibitions. They have the Exotic Erotic Show that comes up actually here February 14th, and they really push boundaries and make you think about things you would normally approach. Whether it's current events or otherwise. And so I was working with the virtual reality production systems to create what it would be like to attend the show if you couldn't be there. Let's say, if people have COVID, they can't leave the house. So I started with previous shows where the place is full of people all the way to the back. And in the back, you see people still kind of ordering drinks, but that's just kind of a murmur. But then right up close, almost to where you feel like you have to duck, you'll see a live action performance where someone might be, swirling something over their head, or suddenly, a glass breaks near you, and you jump for a second. And what I found with the All One House experience that I produced is that I was immediately transported to those places, and I could feel the people in the audience next to me when they cheered. I had this feeling like I was going to cheer. And when everybody was silent, I noticed I could hear my heartbeat. So I knew I was on to something already working with the All One House. I was able to deliver a true experience as if you were there, but without having to wait in line at the bathroom. That's a big help. And being able to pause the experience because you don't want to miss anything. So when you need to get up and get yourself a refreshment, you don't have to worry about what you're about to miss or what you're going to miss on the way if there's only a part of the gallery that's open for those 15 minutes. So that's how I would work with them. Another great experience was I worked with the Tucson Botanical Garden and the Southwest Arts and Creative Alliance. And so they had a virtual Earth Day celebration. And again, it's in COVID. So they couldn't run any of the events for the week that they were normally going to host. This was around May 20th of 2020. So I went down and I shot a VR with, I have these high-tech cameras. There's a lot of technical things you can do. So my cameras, of course, shoot 3D 360. And so it's a 360-degree range of vision, but it doubles up in two different lenses in each direction so that it's kind of complex, but you see in 3D then. So it makes it more real for the experience as opposed to just a typical 3D fisheye lens where everything's in 2D when you're inside the headset. This is that third dimension really helps put the person in place. And then I also do a separate recording system so that I capture a high definition audio arrangement wherever the camera is. So wherever you look, your ears adjust to where the sound is coming from. So when you hear birds coming from one direction, you could look that direction and actually see birds there. And when you see the artist then following around the garden, painting, this fantastic artist, his name escapes me right now. I want to say Ignacio Garcia, but don't quote me on that. I need to double check. He was fantastic. And it was just a beautiful day, all day long in this beautiful place, in Tucson Botanical Garden, watching him paint these colors. And you can't really see the painting until they reveal it at the very end, where at the end of the day, the sun is setting. There's just a saguaro cactus off to your right. It's a towering saguaro. And he walks away from the painting and you're left alone just to contemplate this image in this Southwest garden that's completely empty. No one's there to see the beauty except for you. So it does touch on what we're all feeling here, that both the disconnection, but also the connection, that the unity that we can share by enduring this experience of isolation. We can share it together.
Two fantastic examples. I don't know. Do you feel? I feel like I just landed there in both situations.
Yeah, no, Ryan is a fantastic storyteller, and everybody knows in marketing that that's kind of where the industry is going. It's not so much about just old sales tactics trying to get people to buy immediately. Like, it's really not about that anymore. It's about selling a story and almost like a soft sell, kind of showing your product service at the end and taking a customer through a journey is really what it's about. And Ryan and at Glitterhorne VR, they're really good about doing that. And I think that's like one of the best values you can get is to create a highly engaged and interactive experience. And especially just doing that even through advertising, as well as event marketing and other things you could do as a business, especially with 2020 and how things have been going and how things are probably going to go for the next year or so. I'm thinking that this market's going to be, really good for you.
Yeah, for sure. It's an experience and it's a relationship is what I'm hearing both of you say, that when we're marketing and we're storytelling, we're helping a business brand or show what they have to offer. We have to find out, what kind of relationships are important to them and have us on the other side of that experience it, right? So that we know if we're a good fit. I immediately know that I want to go experience both of those opportunities. And I can't help but think too, what you offer in VR is you put legs on these experiences. So this was, the Botanical Gardens, it was for a season or a particular artist was being displayed there. And I guess the Botanical Gardens could decide, do we want this product to be out there for a long time? Or would we want to keep it as a season? Like if you physically had to go there and you only have till February 14th to see it, this is another opportunity to have that experience live on forever and really put legs and make it evergreen.
Yeah, that time contingent sale proposition. That was one thing. Of course, you always have to find ways you're going to monetize your product, and so that's something that we've been touching on at Glitterhorne VR in how to deliver it effectively. And frankly, we just haven't had the heart to take the VRs down to say, oh, they're only available for this amount of time if you pay $17.95. And we could do that. But as it is right now, the market is still so. If you want to ask me what my niche is,
I do want to ask you, what is your niche, Ryan?
My goodness, right now it's VR.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the whole world. It's whatever anyone will take the time with me to create, because it is still so new. It's like the early days of the internet, where a lot of people aren't really sure. I have run into many people that say, well, it reminds me when the internet first came out, and I said, well, can I get, let's just send it over email. I remember just trying not to show off my age too much, but I remember using this strange thing of email, and people saying, well, why not just give me a call? Well, I can get a fax for that. What do I need an email for? And I get that same response with virtual reality. I really don't understand what this is about. Why would I need to do this? And it's another touch point of communication. And any point of communication that gives a deeper meaning to your story or more insight. For example, Walmart just spent $4.5 billion on building a virtual reality shopping experience. Well, that's quite a bit of money. Why would somebody do that? Well, not all the stores are being shopped right now, and a lot of people are going to Amazon and whatnot. So what can you do in a virtual reality experience that you can't do on Amazon? You can pick up the object, a representation of the object, and look at it in its actual size, according to your environment. Now, it doesn't mean that there aren't going to be, services that might try to sell the object as something better than it is, making it shinier than it actually appears. But the intention is there. Another touch point for the audience to convince them that this is the right purchase to make right now. So if you were to, maybe people can't travel as easily to a golf course, and your job is to sell golf course memberships. Well, now this is a little bit rough on you. What if you could deliver that same experience where they see all the aspects of the golf course, and you get to deliver your award-winning closing statement that always turns those customers? Now, it's not on the phone, it's not over an email, and it's not sending pictures and two-dimensional videos. They still get a very, very similar experience to where it can substitute for reality. It's virtual reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually, just touching on that, I do have actually a great personal example of how that works. Kind of on the local floor and decor business out here. So we were actually remodeling my house, and as a consumer, you got to look at everything. I like to study even what I do in my shopping habits and what I look for as a marketer. Even I get sold every now and then.
Which is probably good to keep you on your toes.
Exactly. No, they did a really good job. One of the things that really sold me from the other companies I was looking at, it wasn't price, it wasn't, the styles that they had in. I just wanted something that I could visually see would work in my house before I buy. So that's when, virtual reality comes in. On their website, they actually allow that, where you take a photo of your living room, the spaces in your house, and you can interchange the different types of flooring, countertops, paint on the wall, different things like that, to really see what it's going to look like and visualize your idea, all on my mobile phone within 5 seconds. So that for me is what sold it. I found something I really liked, immediately made my purchase, and that's not a small purchase either. So it's a very lucrative experience that, companies are starting to adopt and really apply. And that's where, Ryan comes in, especially with companies like that. A lot of them don't even know what they can do with VR technology or AR technology. So you really just have to speak to Ryan first, and he'll tell you how he can make it work for you.
That's another great example and a personal experience. I want to go back to something that Ryan said. I want to talk about ethics in marketing, because you touched on it a little bit with that example you gave. Where does ethics come in? And I know this is probably a broader conversation and 3 or 4 shows in itself, but how, as service providers, and you're helping elevate businesses and as a consumer, our experience, what is your role to be ethic in what you're doing, right? Because we could easily advertise something that's bigger and better and does more things, and then the consumer is obviously at the discretion of how we're describing something. I like to, of course, pride myself, and I think both of you as well do as well, on like what you see is what you get, right? So can you either of you kind of speak to your experiences and if you see in the industries that you serve, if this is an issue?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody that's done marketing or digital marketing, especially nowadays, have maybe been burned once or twice before by another, agency or so that promises the world, I can do everything you want for you. Just keep paying me this much money, and then I'll let you know if it actually worked or not within 6 months to
Yeah,
a
learn
year.
on my back.
Exactly. And the whole time they're probably just trying to figure it out for themselves. I mean, not every agency's like that. There's definitely some good ones out there, but it's kind of hard to pick and choose and know who you're talking to and if they know, if they're actually legitimate. And there's a few things that you have to look for that. And usually right away, we're very transparent with everybody from the very beginning. We don't work with everybody just because we have to make sure we're a good fit, that they're able to make a commitment in the investment in order to be able to, achieve their target goal. So like in the beginning, we always ask everybody, all the kinds of details about their business. We want to learn all the ins and outs, the inner workings, marketing they've done in the past, just everything about them and how they run their company and what's the greatest things about their company to really be able to create a marketing strategy personalized for them and being able to forecast results for them as well and being able to show these numbers that we can achieve these based on like a realistic budget that you can use for advertising, because we're not going to tell anybody that you're going to get to the number one spot on Google, in paid advertising or on SEO on day one. It may not happen. Not saying it couldn't, but it's most likely
Not
not going to
likely.
happen. It's going to take a few months to really kind of hone it in. But every step of the process, we're able to, through our advanced reporting and tracking. Most agencies don't even do that. They kind of just tell you, hey, we got you like 1,000 clicks this month. Like, congratulations. Well, what did that turn into for me for dollars? I spent thousands here. I'd like to know where it went and what was my return on that. So we're able to definitely do that. Working with the client, even if we're not building the website, we have access to it usually right away. So we set up all the tracking, everything before we even launch on day one. So we know where every consumer came from, what's converting, what's not, how much value are those conversions, like a sale on e-commerce. Pretty simple. We can track everything from add to carts, checkouts, put in the credit card information, see where they dropped off, be able to remarket to those people, and calculate how much sales that they got on return on their investment from their marketing. Pretty much you can do it down to the penny. Same with, even service-based businesses. We have a number of those too, like lawyers, dentists, things like that, where it's a little harder to kind of get that transactional value back. But using software like CallRail and other companies and stuff, we're able to really assign a value back to them to listen to a call and be able to know that actually close into a deal, assign a value to it, and then be able to put it back into the campaign. And through our reporting, we're able to show this is how much it's spent advertising, this is how much it actually generated, and it's on a real-time basis. Within 24 hours, it updates. So they never are questioning. And that's one thing you really want to, as a consumer as a client who's hiring an agency, you want to know every day if somebody's actually working on your accounts, paying attention to it, but you also want to see the numbers for yourself. And I think that's what separates us is we're very transparent. We have access to everything. They can see all of our work, all the ad messaging that we will create together. So they know exactly what's being said, what it looks like, and how the traffic and how everything is going on basically a daily basis, month over month. So they're always seeing the growth. I rarely ever have calls or meetings anymore with most of our clients. In the beginning, it's always, people are a little nervous, right, starting out. So they're calling you almost every other day.
Yeah.
I get called maybe like once a month now sometimes, and I'll always have to call them for a meeting just so
That's
see how
good.
things are going. They're like, still going great. Still
Because
going
you've
great.
educated them is what I'm hearing. There's this education piece. You're honest and upfront from the very beginning about how long it may take to see some traction in the work that you do, right? But also teaching them and showing them like here's how you know when we're winning business on your behalf, right? And how great is that you have to reach out and say, hey, we know it's going well. How do you think it's going well? Oh, we know it's going well too.
Yeah, we put in a very layman terms and simple graphs so you can see. I mean,
Hello.
the bar graph, the line graph's going up.
Yep.
I'm happy.
That's exactly what we need, right? Dumb it down for me, make it very simple so that I can focus on the things that I'm an expert at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let us handle your marketing so you can run your business.
Love it. Ryan.
That's totally true. Right on, Austin. You really have to show people exactly what you're doing for them so they know that you're not bending ethics. I see virtual reality that there's a lot of, because of it's a new form of communication in its infancy. At Glitterhorne, ethics really it really matters a lot here in the beginning, because if radio was able to influence how people think by telling them what to think, if video was able to influence how people behave by showing them different behaviors, then what is the potential of virtual experience? How is it going to affect people? And I have some experience in this. I've got a PlayStation 4 and I wanted to share with my daughter. There's a few things that people jump to right away with new technology. Like when video was really easy to shoot, suddenly we had pornography, and we had a lot of trashy horror movies. Shock value. Why? It's going to sell. Just sell stuff. Okay, great. We got into virtual reality. Wouldn't you know it, we have a lot of zombie games. Now, I didn't get any zombie games, but it's just kind of a general virtual experience download on PlayStation 4 they include with it. And some of these game companies, or one of them in particular, you don't have any choices in this scenario. It's kind of a preview for a game, but it gave the illusion like you had a choice to make. And no matter what choice you made, there'd be some shock value. Suddenly it'd be, strike with lightning, and then something else happens. And then the person on the other side is narrating like things are really going wrong. What are you doing? And then it's somebody else, and there's some virus in the system. Now, that's fine, I guess, but it's a shock value. It makes you unsettled, very uncomfortable, because you feel like you're trapped in some room, and whatever you're saying, it's not right. And my 8-year-old daughter begins freaking out. And I find out when I look at the experience, they're asking questions that are really unfair to ask of anyone. And saying, you have a choice. Your dog is going to get hit by a car or come down with a serious disease.
Jeez.
The dog is currently in pain. You've got 5 seconds to decide.
That's a lot for any of us, let alone a minor child. Especially when it's heavy. Especially when it's positioned that I actually have a choice, but they've narrowed down the choices that I have to both shock options. Yeah, it's wow.
So I had conceived of how you could create, depending on what type of society you go forward with. You could go with a draconian society where, imagine, they want to be ultimately efficient and low cost, so they're going to deliberately torture people in prison for a number of years in a virtual prison. They're locked in some kind of water tank, so they take it off, they lose air, and then they're inside this land, this dreamscape they create. It's just nothing but pain and horror. There's that, or another way where you could give people a chance to reform and create a better world, teach us to be more considerate. So right away, before I even got really deep into production, I had thought of this, but then I had seen the effect of somebody goofing around with this technology that was published on a major platform, and I really think that in the beginning it's important that everybody lays down the line. It's not okay to mistreat your audience, and you need to give them the chance to decide for themselves. I'm kind of a big fan of Walter Cronkite. There's a huge responsibility when you take on a new level of communication, that you're honest with the audience, and the only challenge you present to them is a way to make the world better, a way to make themselves better.
Imagine if we were all doing that and all committed
Right.
to it. And in my eyes, and I think you're saying the same thing, it's really quite simple if we all just did that. And unfortunately, that's not the case.
Oh yeah, and I guess just responsible, advertising. You see it in the news all the time now. Companies are getting a lot of heat for marketing messages that came off as either, racist, sexist, or otherwise. I'm really starting to see a huge change in that, which is good. There's a lot of positivity surrounding companies who are really being more aware about it and including, breaking the stereotypes. Like one of them I was watching earlier, I think it was like maybe Tide commercial. It's not always just the mom at home, taking care of the laundry and everything. It was actually a male figure this time. Just a simple change like that, just kind of broadening your audience that not only women do laundry.
Yep.
This is 2021. Like,
Thank you, Austin. Yeah. There's so much to unpack in this kind of a conversation, and it's part of why I love Phoenix Business Radio X so much and being part of this network, because we have to have these conversations constantly, and we have to hold each other accountable is really what we're saying. I think the shame tactics that we used to fall prey to as consumers and the shock tactics, the highly sexualized, marketing and that sort of stuff, it's people are starting to say enough is enough. And how do we hold each other accountable so that we can, live in a world that is welcoming and inclusive, right? I mean, that's the world that I want to be a part of. Yeah, love it.
I think it goes in waves. You had this rise, in the 1930s, you had all these radio programs, and then of course, everything was getting more and more dramatic, and everyone was really hung up on the radio. And then we had this crisis around the War of the Worlds broadcast. And, all of these guys came out and they suddenly said, okay, that's enough. First of all, you have to control what you're going to put on the air. You have to, it cannot incite violence. It cannot incite riots. It cannot create problems with the general population, all of these things. So they put all these rules up, and then that generation kind of gets older. They retire. And the next generation, they go out and they march and they say, hey, how come you're censoring? We should be able to say whatever we want because it's, okay. So then it starts to come back until things get out of control again and we have a big incident. And then, people put the foot down again and then, things kind of come back. So it waxes and wanes. It gets more complicated as we add in new forms of communication because they get to start the cycle all over again. Yep. So I learned my lessons from radio and cinema. In the beginning of cinema, did you know this? So we're going to segue into get away from this just a little bit. But so with cinema, when it first started out, you had, if you guys remember, Thomas Edison had this little peephole viewer. You put a nickel and you look at girls doing burlesque shows. It's not unlike how people started the video. It's like, okay, well, it's quick buck, make some porn. Then these guys from France had the crazy idea of saying, hey, we're going to make this cinematoscope. It's basically a projector on a big screen. And we will project it at such a size that whatever people see in, let's say, that we'll have an image of, say, downtown Paris. And so the people in the room will be the same size as the people walking the streets in downtown Paris. It'll be like they're there. It was a type of virtual reality. And everybody said, that's a joke. That's ridiculous. Nobody's going to want to get inside of a dark room with a bunch of strangers. I mean, there's no air conditioning at the time, remember? And so these first experiences in cinema were a lot like these new ventures of virtual reality, where it's like, okay, this is what's like in a hot air balloon. This is what's like in downtown Paris. This is going through the Grand Canyon. But it was just a gimmick until one thing happened. Somebody decided to take the camera and not just record a play from one point in the audience, but to take it to the perspective of different people in the play and call it this, and create this kind of moving story. And these stories were thick, even though it's so simple. I mean, I can one of them right off the top of my head. I read these scripts, and they work. I just reading the script out, just telling you, listen to this. So there's a story where there's a British soldier in World War I falls in love with a German gypsy girl, and they know that they won't be allowed to get married, so they make plans to meet at this train station. They're going to go off to America and get married, where they can be themselves. Now, when he goes back to his base, they immediately send him back to London. And when she goes back home, her mom's died of the Spanish flu, and all these things happen. So they both missed their appointment, and they think they missed out on the other person. Now, on their own, they work up the nerve to buy their own ticket and get to Manhattan. And at the end of the movie, they're older, they fall in love, and die in each other's arms. Oh. Now, a movie like this suddenly changed the cinema to being a cool thing to go to. Everybody wanted to go to it. And they're paying a nickel a show. And in a few months, that show made over $250,000 at that time. So that's a big jump from a few nickels in a carnival gallery. And for VR, AR, for this direction to really prosper, you do have to take it to the next level. The level of detail and consideration and telling a story that makes you feel like, you're $1 million for watching that. You feel great for doing that, and you'd like to share it with somebody. And so that's kind of the next step I think we have to go for. And that's when radio took off. And that's the way. I mean, it wasn't just, it was great to listen to concerts live. It's great to listen to speeches. That's great news. But then, actually telling a story, that's the point.
I love it. I know I heard from Austin as to how he landed in the role that he is with his company. I know, but I'd love for our listeners to know too, Ryan. How did you? What's your background? How did you find your way to Glitterhorne VR?
Let's see here. Where shall I begin?
I was born on a summer day.
I know. Well, first of all, I'll just throw this in. I've always been creative. I was an acrobat for Cirque du Soleil and traveled the world for a few years. And I was always in research and development of alternative fuel systems. So I've always been kind of on the edge of technology as well as enjoying a good story. And I love to play Dungeons and Dragons. So there's always that.
You looked at Austin. Are you a Dungeons and Dragons guy too?
Oh, I am not. But
I just thought the way he looked at you, like, we got this in common.
No, I look around actually for a little recognition of the embarrassment of the admission, actually, because I'm pretty sure it's one of the rare, strange things that exists.
I
in the
never
world.
got it until Stranger Things, and I probably still don't get it. But watching that series helped me a little bit.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I'm a level 65 mage or something, I think.
The level 65 is really hard to get to. Let me tell you, you have to play for a lot of years, buddy.
Okay, sorry. So
no, it's okay.
Always into.
So I ended up. At some point, I got a film production degree in Hollywood for independent films and produced a couple of projects, and then I ended up using all of that to do some big project management. My twist towards Glitterhorne began about 5 years ago at Arizona State University. They have this Venture Devils program. So if you guys hadn't heard, there is this little startup called Facebook that went public, and everybody's like, this is crazy, an IPO for Facebook. And so after that, there's this huge eruption of startups, startup mayhem, and everybody's wearing black turtlenecks, and everybody's delivering these pitch competitions. And ASU was right there, right at the forefront. They were bringing in the same programs used at Startup Boulder and Draper University and Silicon Valley Institute. These guys they were really going to create the 21st century entrepreneur program. But the nice thing is that it was outside of your college courses. So it was at this business campus, and you could sign up for it and make an attempt. And I did, and I sent in the typical 5-page business plan because I'd done this before. But it was rejected. It just doesn't float in today's day and age. And so, but they let me into the program, and so I went through a number of these startup camps and incubators, and it was just fantastic. They really grilled me on product development, really grilled me on getting down to brass tacks, using things like the business model canvas and and all of these modern ways of collecting data from the internet and checking to see if you have a viable product without spending a lot of money, without spending a lot of time, and without pitching ideas that are going to just waste the time and money of major corporations or major VCs. So in the middle of that, using my R&D tactics of looking into more technology, I saw an opportunity with virtual reality. because between 2015 and 16, almost everything under the sun was tested and developed, and not a lot of it was being used. So you had all these awesome platforms, people that had developed web browsers that would effectively work in a mock-up version of virtual reality glasses, like, pass through with your phone and see a browser in front of your real environment. Things that would deliver a virtual reality experience over networks, even though a virtual reality experience is, can swallow up to a gigabyte per minute of data easily. So, but they'd figured out how to do all of these neat things, all these startups, and then it just kind of fell off. Like there was just too many cool new ideas in the pipeline between that and electric cars and, new search engine optimization systems. I mean, it just didn't take. And one of the big missing pieces of that puzzle was the content. So you had all the tech, but all of these geniuses, they did not produce the content. And so a lot of things were being given out to say, hey, will you produce content? And along with one of these handouts, I got one of these, an excellent VR camera from a company in Israel that used to develop lenses for Kodak. It was a little company that didn't do well when things went online, right? But their optics were so amazing that in every direction they capture three-dimensional perspective equal to the human eyesight. So I thought, well, that's pretty neat. And then you found out about another company that did spatial surround sound, and that was pretty awesome. And then Adobe had plugged all these things into their Adobe Premiere Pro, and so you were able to edit VR content. I was like, well, hey, this is everything's already, all the technical work is already done. Now I just need to go produce content and produce the content that people want to see.
Tell the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started, so I grabbed this stuff. I mean, initially I was using it to test autonomous cars, totally true. It was just, I saw this gap along the way, made note of it. And when the autonomous cars they went through a lot of, they kind of became out of reach for the program that we were working on. So I pivoted my team to start looking at virtual reality, produce things in a regular, what we would need to produce on a regular basis and how quickly could we get things out. And once I knew that we could get an experience produced within 17 minutes, I thought, okay, we have a workflow. Now we just need to start working. Now just collect the experiences and put them out there. And it's just a matter of, that brings us up to today where I've got so far 25 experiences published online. We're expanding now we're needing to go through our own servers and a lot of boring back end stuff that is going to allow us to deliver a unique experience anywhere in the world. We'll have we want to eventually become a VR for Netflix, like a Netflix for VR, but in the short term, it's being able to deliver those experiences for clients to their customers anywhere in the world.
Yeah, not to just like throw you a curveball, but I think earlier you said you worked for Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah.
You just slid that in.
Yeah, I know about you. I'm like, I like how you blew right past that.
Did you know that
Well,
previously? I did. Did you know that?
I did not. Actually.
I also trained for the U.S. Olympic team. And there's like all these things I did. It's just that I feel like if I talk about those things, it really it doesn't stay on topic. But yeah, the way I've always looked at life. My biggest change in life happened when I was about 15. I was like almost 16 years old. I was showing off for a dance troupe, and because I was in performing dance, performing arts. And I felt
looked at Austin again as if Austin's done that too.
Yeah, I'm probably the worst dancer.
I'm like, and but anyways, I fell out of top of a tree. It was a couple of stories high, and anyways, it broke my skull, and I died temporarily. When I came about, I didn't have any memory of who I was, and so I had to kind of relearn where I was at, but I also learned a lot about just that a lot of those existential questions about what makes you alive, what makes you here and now, and ever since then, I've always kind of looked at life as if, okay, imagine you're much older, you're on your deathbed. And I can easily do this. I can become my older self, in a hospital somewhere. And I think back to say, if you were this age, 17, 19, 20, 21, 8, 25, every time I've had one of these major decisions to make, and you had the decision to go and train for the Olympic team or go to college like everybody else and work work to make every bill and everything. So, well, which one would you do? I train for the Olympic team. It's like, okay, well, now do you want to stay and keep training for the Olympic team? Because this time you rip your shoulder out. It's really hard to do it. Think about you. Or go to Las Vegas and take on this crazy audition you heard about. Oh, I should go to Las Vegas. It's like, it was always it was never, once I came at it from the perspective of my much older self that can no longer do these things, can no longer hack these choices, I knew exactly where I wanted to go. So I have this kind of adventurous life as a consequence.
Yeah.
And so, the one of the, like, some of the tamest years have been these recent startup years. As exciting as it is for everybody, I've been really feeling like, well, I'm using my brain. I'm not. I don't feel like I'm, taking my life at risk or doing anything strange, like traveling the world and not knowing any other languages at first, and then
Fascinating. Austin, when you mentioned you've worked for companies like Google and other companies as an employee, right? So at what point did you know that you kind of alluded to it, but you wanted to go into business for yourself? Do you remember, do you have a memory like, I was in the kitchen or I was at work and, hearing my boss drone on and on? No, do you remember the turning point? Sometimes folks do and sometimes they don't.
I kind of vaguely remember how that went. I've always kind of been an entrepreneur. Even in college, I started a number of little businesses, even when I was too young really to anybody even take me seriously, like a moving company that we did for the dorms, things like that were just, fun. We were just trying to mess around, launched a couple apps, tried to do anything to just kind of satisfy that need that I had to be my own boss, to be able to, I just had that entrepreneurial spirit that I had to, follow. I knew that I had to get the experience. And of course, the best way to do that is to work your way up in the number of companies you work for, get all the experience you can. And then when you're finally ready, that you feel in your heart that you're ready to, take that plunge, and you're never really ready for it. Because I remember I didn't really have any savings up. I didn't have any clients that I was already kind of had on the side or anything when I was working for these companies. I just decided to go for it.
Rip the cord, jump.
Yeah, right. Flip the table and just walk out.
I've done it. I've done it a handful of times.
Yeah, but it was the best choice I ever made.
Agreed. To Ryan's point too. Yeah, sometimes you just have to say, look, I can keep waiting until it all feels right and everything's aligned, or I can just go for it. That's cool to hear that you've had that entrepreneur spirit in you from the very beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're just some people, you just have that. And it's not necessarily mean that you need that in order to be a successful entrepreneur. I think it really just comes down to having the courage to just go for it despite all odds. And especially if you give yourself no choice, like you can't fail, because it's either, what's the worst that could happen? I go get another job.
Right.
So I didn't see that too big of a consequence of it.
Love it. We are just about out of time. It's already been an hour, if you can imagine that. Ryan's like, dang, I've got so many more things and so many more stories I could tell, right? I love it. Hey, that's why we have you here. Been great to get to know each of you. I would love for each of you, as you close out the show and help me do that, I want to hear about the first paycheck paying job that you've had. So not mowing a lawn or babysitting or walking the dog, but first paycheck paying job. Mine was Taco Bell. Right on Apache. We actually got robbed. I was working the midnight shift. I was a senior in high school. I came home that night, woke my dad up, and he said, tomorrow you're quitting. And I did. But,
your hot sauce packets.
Right. And the safe. It was, I still love Taco Bell though. So there's that. Tell us, what is the first paycheck paying job? And then if you would just again tell us who you are, the name of your company, and how we can find you. Hopefully you're out there on the World Wide Web. Just joking, of course. Austin, let's have you close out first for us.
Sure. I'm trying to remember. I had so many number of odd jobs when I was just starting to work, but I think it was possibly construction, mostly demolition. So breaking down walls, tile,
Love
hauling
that.
stuff. Yeah, just a little hard labor. You're young, you can do that kind of stuff. I don't think I ever got robbed. That didn't
Good.
happen. Yeah, then so just where to find us.
Yes, please.
Obviously you can find us at woadigital.com, and WOA stands for work of art, and we just use it as an abbreviation. So you can find us either way, search on the web. You can also contact us at contact@woadigital.com. We'll be able to respond to you right away and set up a meeting proposal and go over your business. We'd love to talk to you. I believe in my heart, we can help just about everybody. So if you are a business, even if you think you're struggling in this time, even if you think that you don't have a lot of opportunities to use marketing, we can definitely help you. We've helped a number of businesses over this last year. I don't want to see any more businesses close. So I feel like we're kind of on a mission to really, try to save as many companies as we can, and obviously just grow ones that are still doing very well.
What a great way to close out the segment. Thank you. Austin Denworth, founder and CEO with Work of Art Digital. Again, you can find them at woadigital.com and LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Thank you so much. It's been great to get to know you today.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. Ryan, first paycheck paying job before Cirque du Soleil.
Yeah. Before Cirque du Soleil. So I was racing electric cars at the Phoenix International Raceway for the Department of Energy.
Of course you are.
That was my first job. My first job there was at. I reached out to. I just heard about this event in the paper, and I asked my dad to drop me off. I had just started taking college courses. I was like 12. Yeah, he just, I wandered in and wandered into the pits and saw these booths of all these high-tech teams. And, there was Arizona State University and MIT. And a lot of these guys didn't have any time to talk to a kid who was saying, can I volunteer and join you guys? And this one group of engineers, they were awesome. They were actually a bunch of former NASA engineers. And they had designed a zinc air nickel cadmium battery pack. So it was kind of, it was a full electric hybrid, if you could think of it that way, where the nickel cadmiums would speed the car up, and then air would pass through the back battery pack, which acted like a fuel cell. And then that would activate an electrical charge. Anyways, they showed me, they said, oh yeah, have you ever seen a voltmeter before? Just, do this and tell me the readings. And at the end of the race, they asked me if I could make a little spreadsheet, and they gave me instructions, and I did. And then they sent me my first paycheck for $50.
Awesome.
So that was my first job for the Department of Energy. So guys, my name is Ryan, and I'm at Glitterhorne VR. You can find us on the web, www.glitterhorne.com. That's Glitterhorne with an E. And if anybody wants to know what it means, it's another way of saying unicorn, pretty horn. So besides that, you can email me at producer@glitterhorne.com. We're also available on Facebook, facebook.com/Glitterhorne. Take a look around, find our YouTube channel, again, Glitterhorne Productions. Pretty much Glitterhorne Productions everywhere you can find us.
Love it. And like with Austin, it's worth a conversation. There's no risk or harm in just reaching out and seeing if there's something that you can help folks with.
By all means, if you guys just have questions, you can drop us a line. We get back to everybody. We can always, if you just need guidance, you're not sure. I don't sell a product you don't need yet, so, but it will, I'll always be honest, and I will always get you the answer you're looking for.
Thank you. Great to have you. And shout out to Sean at Avantage again for the introduction for Ryan and I. And we look forward to producing Avantage's show coming up at the end of February, I believe. You've been listening to Phoenix Business Radio, broadcasting live from Max 6 Conscious Workspace right here in Tempe, Arizona. Some media leans left, some lean right, and we lean business. Until next time, I'm Karen Nowicki. Thanks for listening.